everybody, and welcome to the Rocky and Derrick Show. If you like our interviews, please visit our website, rockyandderrickshow.com, and visit our photo and video galleries. We're back with Indiana Bones, and he's going to show us some fossils.
Yeah, we've been talking about all the fossils we have on display here. I have a couple of genuine pieces that I'd like you to see, and you can even touch them. This one here is a Stegosaurus vertebra. If you feel your backbone running up the back of you, you can feel the individual bones that make up your backbone. This is one of those individual bones from a Stegosaurus. This fossil is about 100 million years old. And if you'd like to touch it, you can. This is a pretty remarkable thing to see. Stegosaurus fossils are fairly rare. They are not one of the more plentiful dinosaurs. So to have a Stegosaurus fossil like this is pretty special. And to get to touch one all the more. And to have something that old right in the palm of your hand, it's pretty remarkable. We also have here a Triceratops fossil. How many of you know about Triceratops? Yeah, it means three-horned face, and that indicates he's got three horns on his face. This is a toe bone from a Triceratops. It's about 63, 64 million years old. And so as he stood, one of his little toe bones would be resting on the ground like this. And you guys can touch that as well. Absolutely genuine. This is a bone that over the years became mineralized. That means that the bone was replaced with bits of rock. And that's how it's endured. If it were just the bone, it wouldn't have stayed around for 64 million years. But because the minerals replaced it and it's turned to stone, it'll last for millions and millions of years.
Yeah, me and Palmer learned about this in class for like 2 weeks straight. Anybody got a question? Anybody got a question?
I just got my question.
Have you ever been to any sites where you've dug up any bones?
No, I'm more of a museum guy. So they come into the museum and we examine them here. We've got some folks, one particular in Florida, who's a colleague who goes on a lot of expeditions, and a lot of the fossils that we've got here come from his expeditions out west. Florida, like North Carolina, is not a great place to look for fossils, but every opportunity that he can, he will go on an expedition and dig up bones and bring them to us for us to see if they're pieces that we want to share with the public. So I'm more a museum guy, and he's more of a field guy.
Who got you into paleontology?
Well, yeah, really it was my own curiosity. All of us are curious about big exotic animals like dinosaurs. I mean, think about it. They're large, they're kind of scary, which is in itself sort of fun, and they're not around anymore. So they're kind of the perfect stuff to get your imagination working on. This is absolutely true. When I was a kid, I was interested to find out about what used to live around here where I was growing up. And my parents didn't know it, but I started digging a hole in the back. It was behind a tree where they couldn't see it just by looking out the back window. I dug on that hole until it was 4 feet deep. The hole was almost as deep as I was tall. And when they saw it, they were not pleased. But I just thought it would be a cool thing to try to find some fossils by digging in my backyard. Didn't work out all that well, but that was the beginning of an interest in the animals who, the remains of which are beneath our feet. So even around here, wherever we walk, there are probably dinosaur fossils. We can't see them or get to them because of all the vegetation around here. But just knowing that underneath your feet where you walk, there's a whole vanished world that is there to be studied. It's pretty fascinating stuff. So just the idea of that got me interested in not only paleontology, but other sciences as well when I was a kid. Well, tell me, so do you guys have a favorite dinosaur? Any of you?
Well, not really. No. I didn't know all of the dinosaurs, so I can't say I have
Anybody
a favorite.
have a favorite? I think she's got a favorite fact.
I like the
I like the pterodactyls a lot. I think they're pretty cool.
Yeah. What do you like about them? What's interesting about those?
Well, it's just like they look almost like they're on the ground, but they fly. But
Yeah.
they just seem like they should be like a ground creature to me.
Yeah.
Though, like without the wings, I could just picture them just like being on the ground. But with the wings, it's just like a whole different story to me.
Yeah, and that's how they started. They started out on the ground. When you look at a pterosaur, a flying reptile, and you look at the structure, that bone that grows across the front of the wing, and they have those little fingers, sticking out the middle of the wing. Those are modified hands and finger structures. So those were animals that used to live on land, and over many, many, many years, changes occurred. They developed wings that would allow them to fly. A lot of people think that pterosaurs like that are dinosaurs, which they're not. They're flying reptiles, but they are not dinosaurs. Birds developed flight independently. The path that led pterosaurs like those guys to fly, completely different natural history than the process that led to birds flying. It's a way different animals adapt to do similar things through different means and different paths. But I agree with you, the pterosaurs are amazing. The biggest one of those flying reptiles, and we have some here in the gallery that are on display, models of them. The biggest ones had a wingspan of nearly 50 feet. Now think about that. One wall in this gallery is 50 feet. Imagine a flying reptile with wingtip to wingtip, a wingspan of 50 feet. Huge. Quetzalcoatlus was his name. He lived toward the end of the age of dinosaurs. But imagine looking up into the sky and seeing something like that. So I agree with you. They are fascinating animals. Anybody else? Yeah.
I like T-Rexes.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why, but I just like how big and strong, how their teeth are, and how sharp they are.
Yeah, and T-Rex is interesting. I mean, if you look at the teeth of T-Rex, well, for one, when you look at it, you can see they're curved backwards. The teeth are sharp, but they're curved backwards. And that we call a recurved tooth. If you got caught in a T-Rex tooth, and that was a bad place to be, but if you got caught in a T-Rex tooth, the more you struggled, the farther down on the tooth you would go. Have you ever seen movies where people fall into quicksand? They fall into quicksand, they struggle, and the more they struggle, the farther down they go. The recurved teeth on T-Rex, like that, the more you struggled, the farther down you went. And the edge of the teeth of T-Rex, they had little spikes on them called serrated edges, like on a steak knife, to cut through the meat better. Now, one thing I think is fascinating about T-Rex, he's got that massive head, those big jaws, and look at the little set of arms there. Has that ever struck you as funny that T-Rex has little arms? Have you ever wondered about that? A lot of people ask the question, why did he develop such little arms? What were they used for? And that's really not the question. It's not what were they used for. The question is, why did he have to make his arms shrink and shrink and shrink and get smaller and smaller over the ages? And the reason is that big head. That head is where he does all his hunting, all his chewing, all his chomping, and he developed a massively big head, but it's very heavy. So if his front arms were very heavy, it would throw him out of balance and he'd tip over. That's not a good way to catch a meal, tipping over forward. So he's got little arms for the same reason he's got a big long tail. The big long tail balances out the big head on the other end, and the little light arms keep his front end from being any heavier because he needs to be balanced to hunt. So yeah, T-Rex, that's a great one. I love T-Rex too. He's like my all-time favorite. Anybody else have a question?
Well, I was going to say my favorite dinosaur is a velociraptor.
Oh yeah, why? What fascinates you about Velociraptor?
Their hunting tactics, about how they communicate when they're hunting something.
Yeah, and of course that's a still debated point, but you do find collections of fossilized raptors in ways that suggest that they may well have hunted together. And because we know now that theropod dinosaurs, that is, meat-eating dinosaurs that stand on two legs, like a velociraptor, we now know that these are the close cousins of modern birds. And a lot of behaviors that you see in birds, we assume, had their beginnings in theropod dinosaurs like velociraptor. And birds can be, many of them, pretty gregarious. They flock together, literally. And so that helps us think that maybe these collections of fossilized theropods like velociraptors that we find together, maybe they did work together to do their hunting. But it is still a debated point, but it is fascinating. They were smart dinosaurs. If you are hunting for a living like Velociraptor did, you have to be pretty sharp, pretty smart to outwit your prey. And so they were highly intelligent. We do know that. And if that extended into social behaviors that helped them cooperatively to hunt, that's a possibility too. Yeah, it's a fascinating dinosaur.
Thanks for watching the Rocky and Derrick Show. Be sure to give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and comment. Goodbye.